Hello everyone, it is Catherine Massell here, Ascending Earth Creatrix. Hello, hello, hello. I'm going to share this in a few places while people are jumping on, hopefully. Just so I can give you a glimpse of what is happening still. I live. I don't know if you can see that. That's through the screen of my office window. So that's why it looks so weird, but it is just dumping again. Hi, Courtney. I was lacking power. We lost power yesterday because of this 3-day storm for most of the afternoon and evening, so fingers crossed that I don't lose this feed because I have something really important I want to share with you guys today, and I think it's going to help a lot of you. So I'm going to go ahead and share this in a few places real quick while you're jumping on. But yeah, let's just hope I can keep this internet connection. We shall see. Okay, there I am. I'm going to share this on my personal page and in a couple groups. My Evolve into Ascension group. My friends over there. And I have a feeling that what I'm talking about here today is gonna kind of hit most of you in the feels. That's probably why you wanted to, maybe you saw the title of this and you wanted to get in on the goods on what I'm talking about here today, because it resonates for some of you, this idea of like the personality crisis. And I'm all wet because I just showered after shoveling all morning. Courtney says, yes, lovely view, but I can imagine you're ready for it to ease up. Oh, sister, you have no idea. I mean, the real blessing of this is that when it's fire season here, which comes earlier and extends later every year in the high Sierras, everything's going to be nice and wet, so it's going to hopefully, fingers crossed, limit the amount of wildfires because the earth will hopefully stay nice and wet, and the lake level is going to be really high, so that's good. But I'm ready for it to stop snowing, that's for sure. So today I want to share with you one of the biggest ascension symptoms that is happening for a lot of people on the planet right now. A lot of people are feeling affected by, if you could kind of condense the thing that's happening, like all the different things, all the feels into a singular description. Personality crisis might just nail it. Let me tell you what's been happening for me, and then I'm going to talk about what I've been doing as I've pulled back quite a bit on my whole life to kind of look at all the moving parts. This is what I did that helped me, and I shifted my perspective around this, and it has changed my experience greatly. Hi, Stacey Ellen. So I want to share this with you. So let me start by telling you, 2018, which was difficult for me, it was difficult for a lot of people. A lot of the clients that I have are going through this kind of, dark night of the soul, this winter of the soul, a lot of things kind of unraveling and deconstructing. It's the reason why I created my signature program, Become the Creatrix, so that people could put things back together again. But for me specifically, 2018 was just like a shedding, a major shedding of so many layers, so many parts of self that just had to go away, because who I was, who I had been, could not be sustained any longer with the high frequency energies that are really hitting this planet at such a greater rate, at a more accelerated rate all the time. So for those of you who don't know what ascension symptoms are, first of all, go to my YouTube channel and just click on Ascension Symptoms and search for videos on that, because I talk a lot about ascension symptoms. But basically, ascension symptoms, the quick and dirty version of that would be either the benefits or the side effects of the planetary's movement, the planet's movement into a higher dimensional timeline, meaning we are accessing higher frequencies all the time and ways of being This whole planet is ascending in frequency. It's elevating its frequency. So because we have such a strong connection to Mother Earth, we are tied to her, she is tied to us. We are going to feel these things here too. And depending on your perspective, it's either, you know, certain upgraded gifts or an accelerated level of maybe intuition or being able to be grounded into your body, into yourself, into your physical human experience. But side effects would be, you know, having migraines, having this feeling of feeling pulled or stretched in your consciousness, feeling uncomfortable in your body, feeling not grounded in your body. There's a whole slew of ascension symptoms that affect us physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I'm not going to go into all of those here, but if you wanted to check out my YouTube channel, I have lots of videos that talk about ascension symptoms. So one of the major things that happens for us as we are experiencing this massive up-leveling, this major shift into a higher dimensional timeline. Hi, Saphira. We are experiencing, depending on your perspective, again, either side effects of this planetary evolution, or we are feeling benefits. I choose to see them all as benefits, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to go into a little bit more why that is. But one of the major things that we're all experiencing, especially from, you know, the ushering out of 2018 and the bringing in of 2019, I can tell you personally, the first 6 weeks, I mean, I can't believe we're only 6 weeks into 2019 because it feels like 3 years. The first 6 weeks of 2019 has been very, very difficult and very trying for me. And the best way for me to kind of encapsulate that or give it like a quick and dirty definition of what's been going on, it's a personality crisis. Meaning, who I have been, the person that got me to where I am, can no longer be sustained going forward with the elevated ascension timeline that we're on. Literally, we have higher dimensional light codes coming into this planet all the time that are changing things, shifting things, accelerating our growth, our human evolution at a very, very rapid rate. This is jarring for us. And what this means for us in terms of our human evolution, our human awakening process, the trajectory of becoming, or bringing, I should say, more of these spiritual timelines, accelerated timelines into our human experience, is very difficult for us to reconcile. Many of us don't even have the language or the ability to understand what's happening. So how that's shaking out for many people on the planet, whether we do understand what's happening or not, what is culminating is this personality crisis. Hi, Raquel. Yes, Saphira, major growth over the last 6 weeks. I've had to pull back on everything in my life because what was happening, it seemed like one thing after another just playing out of, you know, something that I guess you could call it closure. Things had to close out. Chapters of my life, people fell away. Certain experiences that I thought were aligned for me were not. Some doors closed, some others opened. A lot more doors closed than opened, but I needed to shift my perspective around this because, and many of you can probably relate, I felt like I was going crazy. And here I am, you know, someone who talks about ascension, someone who talks about kind of nebulous and out there stuff. Even with the things that I know, the things that I talk about, the insight that I have, maybe even the wisdom that I share with you, yes, I have been experiencing an incredible amount of unraveling to the point where I was just questioning everything in my life. I was questioning my own sanity. I was questioning the universe and its support of me or lack of support for me. I was questioning all of these things that seemed so aligned, that seemed so right for me, but then completely fell apart. I mean, completely fell apart. Things that blew up in like really massive ways. There was nothing that was happening over the last 6 weeks, and to be fair, let's just say over the last 8 weeks, that was gentle. I would say that nothing over the last 6 or 8 weeks that's been happening for me has been gentle or graceful or happening with kind of ease and flow. And it was because I was pushing so much against this level of change. And with my ego perspective saying, there can't be this much change going on. There can't be this much change coming into my life that's aligned for me. This has got to be a mistake. And it was all my ego perspective saying, it can't be this way. It's got to be this way. And I was realizing just how much I was pushing and resisting against the change. So of course, it's going to feel more uncomfortable. Can anyone relate? Can anyone relate with what I'm saying? Saphira says, I just changed my name and got the new social security number and had my car of 10 years towed away, all shifting my energy. Yeah, I was in a car wreck. I had a major thing lined up as a collaboration with someone that completely fell apart. And that fuse, it lit up dynamite. Talk about a blow up. It was a really bad blow up. And it was a bad situation between me and another person. Lots of misunderstanding, lots of miscommunication. Ugly stuff. Like nothing graceful about it. Like, oh, that's just gonna just fall away and shed. Nope. Everything that's been happening for me has been, for lack of a better word, emotional turmoil and major upheaval. So the only thing that I could do was pull back. I had to just pull back on everything. I spent a little less time on Facebook, a lot less time on social media. It just so happens that it's been storming and blizzarding here, so I've pulled back on, I haven't been talking to anybody really. I haven't been communicating with the outside world very much. I pulled back on everything so that I could look at the moving parts and see really everything without the filter of ego. And that was very difficult for me because, first of all, I'm a Capricorn, right on the cusp of Aquarius. So I like to be in control. I like categorization. I like compartmentalization. I like order. I do not like chaos. I can be kind of flexible, but I'm always flexible in terms of having some sort of compartmentalization going on. I have to have some sort of order. Raquel says, yes, reminds me of the Tower card in Tarot, breaking down old foundations that don't serve so the new can shift us. Absolutely. But even though we have an awareness of this happening, that things need to fall away to make room for the new, there is still an incredible amount of resistance that we feel if you went into that ego tailspin like I did. There can't be this much change happening this fast. There just can't be. That's too crazy. It's too much. I can't take it. Doesn't the universe know that I'm not up for this? We go into this kind of ego spiral, this ego tailspin, saying, the universe is wrong. I have to be right. Can anyone relate? Can anyone relate to that? Saphira says, wow, felt that explosion. Yeah. Big time. So what I did when I pulled back is first of all, I meditate every day, but I started meditating 3 or 4 times a day. Going into my meditative space, first thing in the morning before I do anything, before I even let the dog out, before I even speak a word to my husband, before I look at my social media, before I look at my email, anything like that, I go up into my office space and I grab my mala beads that I love, my I am enough mala beads with the goddess and the points of the compass on there. I love these beads. Made by Allison Sherwood, who's fantastic. And I would grab my I am enough mala beads and I would meditate in the morning, and then 2 or 3 more times throughout the day I would meditate just to check in. And what I realized when I was pulling back and just spending more time in this meditative space is what we often end up doing here in the West, and what we miss about the idea of living with spirit or living in alignment with spirit, what I like to call living in the prayer. We're doing that. And many of us have a good spiritual practice and we meditate and whatever. But when we think about when you're in this meditative space and you're feeling connected, you're feeling at peace with yourself, you feel in alignment with the higher intelligence that's really running the show, because it's just that we've kind of bought and sold this idea to ourselves that the ego is running the show, but it's not. It's just happened to be a louder, more obnoxious voice than the higher intelligence that's really running the show. And the higher intelligence that's really the deepest connection to the highest part of ourselves is always there. It's always talking to us, but it gets buried under layers of ego conditioning and ego beliefs and half-truths and falsehoods and the illusion. But when we connect to the space, we're doing it as an escape. When you look at more spiritually evolved people, let's just say in the East, let's take some Tibetan monks, for instance. And I'm not advising a monastic lifestyle because here in the West, many of us don't have a lifestyle that can jibe with that level. But if you look at a group of Tibetan monks in a monastery, they are living in the prayer. They are living with spirit. They are living in alignment with the highest truth of themselves. And what we are doing is living in alignment with the illusion, and our spiritual practice becomes the escape. Hey, Patrice, do you guys get what I'm saying? Give me a heart if you understand what I'm saying. So what I'm not advising is that we live monastic lifestyles and we give up everything and we forsake all the illusion, because that's just not possible for us here in the West. But we have to sort of tread some line that is closer to living at the spiritual level and in alignment with the higher intelligence within, as opposed to buying and selling the illusion to ourselves over and over and over again. Because even those of us, and I will say, you know, I'm trying to be a thought leader and I'm trying to be a way shower and I'm doing my best to show up in full integrity with that, but those of us who are even doing that, we are kind of buying and selling the illusion to ourselves, and even, let's just say, to our clients, that going into meditative space 10-15 minutes a day is going to solve all your problems. And it's going to turn you into a better person. It's going to allow you to align more with the source within and the higher intelligence that's really running the show. But I'm here to tell you that if we're doing it that way, we're doing it as an escape. And we're not living in the prayer. Do you guys understand what I'm saying when I'm talking about living in the prayer? Let me give you an example. If we are to be more aligned with spirit and we're living our daily lives forsaking the illusion and living at the level of prayer, living within the prayer instead of outside of the prayer, which is many of us, we are living outside of the prayer. Meaning, we're not looking at everything as a blessing. Even the tough stuff. And what I was doing when I was in this level of resistance, going over, the last 8 weeks or so, I was looking at everything from the filter of ego perspective, and saying, this level of change can't possibly be happening at this accelerated rate. I can't take this. Doesn't the universe understand? I'm not up to this. I can't deal with this. This is too much, too fast. Resistance, right? Resistance, resistance, resistance. I was living outside of the prayer. Meaning, if I had, which I eventually ended up doing, shifting my perspective to look at everything that was happening for me instead of to me, then I am blessing that person that I had a blow up with, that person that I had the nasty, like knockdown, drag out fight with. And if I was able to, in that moment, I'm able to do it now, see that person as a blessing and a partner for me in a learning experience for my soul's growth, then that's a blessing. If I'm able to see that the hit and run accident that I was in mid-January, which totaled my car that I loved, that was great, and I could have got a lot more years out of it, and it was a great Tahoe car to have. My Honda Element, loved that car. But I could only be inside the problem, and I was living outside of the prayer. I was living outside of the blessing of, hey, you know what? If that didn't happen, the insurance company wouldn't have paid me top dollar in that car, so I could have bought a whole new car with cash. A safer car. A car that wasn't kind of on its last legs and didn't need a whole lot of maintenance to be safe up here in Tahoe. That's me living in the prayer, being able to see the blessing. The fact that I didn't have as many people sign up for my signature course as I wanted to. was not me being able to see, well, how do I get better at like marketing and talking to people and reaching out, not just from a place where I think I'm telling people what they want to hear in my mind, but how am I missing the connection with other people that I could really be helping? Because I know that I can be helping and serving more people. What needs to change with that? The blessing is not signing up as many people as I thought I was going to, because I'm not reaching people at the level I need to. I'm not reaching them at the heart level. So I need to tweak that. I need to fix that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So living in the prayer and living in a place where we are connected to the higher intelligence within, and we're living at the spiritual level, means we're not meditating maybe even 2 or 3 times a day as an escape from the uncomfortable illusion of our everyday lives. We are living in the prayer all day, every day, by seeing everything as a blessing, meaning, and I'm getting teary when I talk about this because this was such a huge shift for me, and maybe this is hitting you guys in the feels, so give me a heart if this is hitting you guys in the feels, that everything was happening for me instead of to me. Yes, I am vibing with this. Fear says, great. Patrice says, that's what happened to me when I got sick. Yeah, and I got really sick too. I was really, really sick for about a week and a half, like the sickest I've ever been. But that happened for me because it was what needed to happen so I could pull back. Because I was in hustle mode where I was pushing and I was forcing outcomes. So the universe was like, all right, you're not going to do this on your own. We're just going to pull you out of this. We're going to find a way to take you out of commission because you're not willing to do it on your own. Yeah, and then Patrice says that then became a detox that was a prayer which took me deeper into my soul. Yes. Saphira says, fuck yeah, bless my soul. Yes. I don't know who all is watching here. I hope. Can I start a watch party? Has anyone tried to do that? Or can you only do it when it's a replay? Anyway, I want more people here. But do you guys understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Tree says, oh my God, same. Hi, Dina. So what needed to shift for me is being able to every day start my morning by saying and creating an intention. Living with intentionality is a big part of this. This day I live in the prayer. This day I live everything as a blessing. This day I'm happy no matter what. And I also was in denial about the fact that my happiness was based on a conditional level. If I get so many people in this group program, then I'll be happy. If I can pay off this bill, then I'll be happy. If I can get this many people to interact with my live today, then I'll be happy. Right? Thanks, Patrice. Hi, Dina. I was living also, when I pulled back on everything and I realized that I was living outside of the prayer, that I wasn't living as if everything was a blessing, and it is, because that is now my perspective, and I'm committed to keeping that perspective, that my happiness has to be, and I don't want to say has to be or should be, but my happiness can be just there without any conditions placed upon it. I can just be happy. That is a choice. That is my choice. I can choose to wake up in the morning and say, you know what? No matter what happens today, these are my goals and these are the things I would like to happen. But I had to realize that I needed to separate my goals, my daily intentions, from the outcome of that's going to make me happy if I succeed with that. I had to, when I pulled back, separate my goals from my happiness. And I highly recommend that for you too. Because you're removing the conditions on it. And when I removed the conditions on my happiness, I realized that, number one, it was a lot easier for me to just be happy. It was a lot easier for me to just be like, oh, okay, you know what, this is happening, but it's happening for me, and I bless it. And it's not that the answers came to all those things that unraveled. I'm going to say this, and I want you to hear this. Please, please, please hear this. Listen up. Prick up your ears here. with all the things that were happening over the last 6 to 8 weeks that were this like major shedding, major blow up, major catharsis, major purge, that were very difficult. I'm not going to say they weren't. They were very difficult. And it felt like I was overcoming something yet again. Yet again, I was being presented with something I had to triumph over, and that was going to mark me as worthy if I could triumph over that. It gave me value or moxie or lady balls if I could overcome that. I had to let that go too. And I was just going to say that, Dina. Excellent. Conditions cause stress, because that level of conditioning that I was so used to, that I grew up with, that had to go. Because that was one of the things that was ready to leave. That was one of the things that was ready to be purged. But I was still holding on to this idea that if I can overcome this thing, then I'll be happy. If I can get rid of this thing in my life, then I'll be happy. If I can triumph over this challenge, this issue yet again, then I'll be happy. Then I'll have value. Then I'll be worthy. And then all the stuff that I want will come to me and life will be perfect. Again, I'm buying into this illusion that even my happiness is a form of escape. Do you guys hear what I'm saying? That even if I could overcome, you like that, lady balls? You're welcome, Dina. Even if I could overcome all these things and rise above all these challenges, all these issues, my happiness was still part of this illusion that I was buying into. That if I did all these things, that I'd be valued, I'd be worthy of whatever, you know, more money, more success, more fame, more clients, whatever that is, that my happiness was not only conditional, but that was part of the illusion that I was resisting, that I was, you know, in resistance of, and was making my life have to blow up in the first place. Expectations cause disappointments. It depends. It depends. If your expectation is to have unpredictable outcomes that are favorable, then it's delightful. And then there are no disappointments. If your expectation is, and I'm going to say it again, to have unpredictable outcomes that are not reminiscent of your familiar past, then they are not disappointments, they're delightful. And that's the perspective I needed to shift. And that made a huge difference for me. So long story short, I get up in the morning now, realizing that if I can just make my intention for the day to be happy no matter what, and if I make my intention for the day to live inside the prayer, not outside of the prayer, and to have heightened awareness of when I'm living outside of the prayer, when I'm not looking for things that are blessings, I'm looking for things that are a curse, or I'm looking for things that are a disappointment, I'm looking for things that are outcomes that I'm forcing. That means I'm living outside of the prayer. That means I'm not living at the level that everything is a blessing. I choose to live everything is a blessing. And it's not here's the thing. That doesn't mean the answers showed up. That doesn't mean the answers showed up. But I became less dependent on there having to be answers. I became less focused on the fact that in order for me to get out of this turmoil, whatever, there has to be an answer. When I decided to live with the intentionality of I'm going to be happy every day no matter what, the answers became less important. And I didn't need the answers. Because I was in a state where no longer the ego illusion was holding court and making me so focused on forcing an outcome that was an answer. Does that make sense? You guys get what I'm saying? Give me some hearts if you understand what I'm saying. So the meditation that I'm now doing 3 or 4 times a day is part of a flow of my day. Meaning before it was just in the morning and I get up and I start my, and it's wonderful to start your day like this, don't get me wrong. If you only have time to meditate once a day, do it right in the morning while your energy is fresh, before you're untainted by any of the ideas about who you think you are or how you survive in the ego illusion of self. When you start your day connecting right into higher intelligence, that's a wonderful way to start your day, and it will shift a lot throughout the rest of your day. But for me, I was realizing that that was like a form of escape for me. And that the rest of the day I could still buy into all the illusion. You guys get what I'm saying? Oh yes, clear as a bell, inner power of self. Dina says yes. Tammy says yes. Expectations are planned resentment. Ooh, I like that. So a big part of my shift was understanding that I don't want to live in that illusion anymore. I want to live at the level of spirit. I want to live connected to higher intelligence and make going in and connecting with the higher intelligence for me part of just the flow of my day. Because being able to understand our human experience is understanding that we are here as a play of form. Everything here on this planet is just a play of form. It's a play. It's a play. And if you can understand that in that play, many of us are choosing to suffer, not in all situations, but many of us, many times, we are choosing suffering. And that's part of the illusion too. That's part of the play. Because we're meant to experience all of the things on that emotional spectrum of experience here as human beings, because that's ultimately what makes us human, is our emotional expression. And our ability to be able to go in and out and kind of weave different emotions into our experience here so that we can say, yes, I am a human. I have this human experience. I understand this full spectrum of all these emotions. I probably felt all of them many, many times in my life, some of them more than others. But it's part of our human experience here. We're meant to feel all the feels, even when it's painful. Staying in those certain feels that are lower, lesser than, and disempowering is part of the suffering that is a choice. And I want to choose, like, I'm going to let those feelings happen because I understand that this is happening for me. And if I'm living inside the prayer, I'm also living at the level of, I'm going to let these feelings come. I'm going to process them. I'm going to understand that there's a lesson in there for my soul's growth. I'm going to take that and then I'm going to move on. I don't need to marinate in that then. And that has to be a conscious choice on my part to be able to take the lesson, to take the wisdom. Emotional experiences that we have that are not triggering, that's called wisdom. Emotional experiences that bring us insight, that bring in a lesson for our soul's growth, that's wisdom. When we stay in those emotional experiences, that's stagnation. That's almost backwards growth, actually, because we're not stuck, we're not ever really stuck, but we're going to keep creating new ways to experience that same emotion and bring that in over and over again. That's part of the illusion. You don't have to stay there. So living at the level of prayer, living with prayer, within the prayer means I am choosing to look at everything as a blessing. And these situations, these events, these experiences, these people coming in, they are partners that I am joining up with for my soul's growth. That was a huge shift for me. And again, it's not that the answers came. Like the things that were the problems that I was struggling with, some of them are still there, I'll be totally honest with you, but I'm less invested in, personally, and throwing all my energy in to figuring out the answer to this problem. I'm not forcing the outcome. I'm not hustling to find a solution. I'm just being. I'm just being. And I'm living at the level of prayer, meaning I'm going in and out all day long in connection with this higher intelligence and just kind of checking in and like, how's this going? Where can I get some insight here? How can I flow through this situation with a lot more ease and grace? And things just naturally end up shifting. The answers come without you having to force them. Sometimes they don't come. But for a lot of the things that I was resisting and in kind of forceful resistance of, just kind of naturally settled out, just kind of naturally fell away in a favorable way for me when I stopped fighting the whole process. So I hope this helps. I hope this finds you guys in a good place. I hope that this kind of hit you in the feels, because I've been seeing way too many teary posts on Facebook just over the last couple days. I haven't been checking into Facebook too much over the last 2 weeks, but over just the last 3 or 4 days, I've seen so many teary posts I mean, really, people wearing their hearts on their sleeves, like, I am lost. I don't know what's going on. Things don't make sense anymore. So much shit has shifted. I don't even know who I am. I don't know who my friends are. I don't know what my situation is. I don't even know what to do next. This is why I created Become the Creatrix program, by the way, because so many of us are in this place, and then we're trying to just put things back together the way they were, but then we're just on track to have everything blow up again. Because you can't sustain the old you. The old you is falling away in layers. That's why this personality crisis is happening. Okay? Raquel says it did. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome, you're welcome, welcome. Please share this video if you know that this would help people, if you know this would brighten people's day maybe, or give them hope, give them some faith. Please do feel free to share this video. You can share it if you're watching from either my personal page or my Catherine Massell Ascending Earth Creatrix Facebook page, business page. You can share it from there. So I want to wish you so much love and peace. I'm in your hearts. Hopefully I got in your minds a little bit, but I want to wish you so much love and peace, and have a beautiful week. Bye-bye.